You're listening to the Premier Podcast Network. Welcome to the pinnacle of wrestling entertainment, Premier Streaming Network. Join us at watchonpremier.com to unlock the ultimate wrestling experience. Curated to perfection. Immerse yourself in the spectacular world of wrestling history, where classic battles and unforgettable moments are at your fingertips. Join us today and experience the epitome of curated wrestling content. Because when it comes to wrestling entertainment, Premier sets the standard. Be Premier.
Yo, hey, everybody. This is Dominic DeAngelo of, where am I from? Inside the Ropes, ad-free shows, you name it. But I am here today on the Premier Streaming Network with none other than Rob Van Dam for his very own show. It is one of a kind, appropriately named for an appropriate WWE Hall of Famer. All-around good guy. Rob, how are you, man?
Good. It's our show, Dom. Our show.
Thank you, Rob. Jeez. Warms my heart. You know, I was thinking of rebranding it, and I want your opinion on it.
I don't like it.
I was thinking the Polish Prince podcast. What do you think?
Let me chew on that one. Sheik made a lot of money off of Igor.
That's right. I mean, maybe we could do like an April Fool's episode would be perfect for that. We just completely change the frame. Just name you the Polish Prince underneath your name. Everything. Go the whole route.
Yeah, I saw there as that at least one time for the Sheik, and I hated it. And Sabu, when Sabu first got named Sabu, he was Sabu the Elephant Boy, and he hated the Elephant Boy part. He wanted to drop that, and I hated that he wanted to call me the Polish Prince. You know, and he's like, "Do you know how much money I made off of Igor?" And I guess he was a heel that was Polish back in the '60s, but. I wasn't real proud of my heritage. You know, I don't even know if people even know nowadays, but growing up, Polish jokes was like all the rage.
They were.
Everyone had, you know, how many pull-ups does it take to screw in a fucking light bulb? And I grew up on Polish jokes, and I don't really know if that's a thing because I haven't heard about it for 40 years. So
right, it's been forever.
It might not be a thing anymore. I don't know. Maybe that was, I don't know. Maybe it died out like because it was 30 years after World War II and it took that long. I don't know. I remember asking my dad, like, why do Polish people get made fun of? And he just said, well, just because they didn't fight back. They took it. You know, I was like, oh. So we're not like dumber than other people or anything. Like, I don't know, you know, like
as a kid, you would think like, that's like, hey, maybe I am dumber. Like, because maybe I'm dumb.
Yeah, so I was thinking, no, Sheik, don't call me the Polish Prince. I want to be known as a good-looking baby face. You know, I want the girls to like me. Look, I got dimples. Don't call me that.
Now, when he labeled you as the Polish Prince, was that going to be a baby face gimmick or a heel gimmick, like all out here?
You know, I don't really know.
Oh, okay.
I just assume I was always going to be a baby face, especially because of who I was working with. You know, we had a really small little crew of Dango and Sabu and maybe Judge Dredd and Todd. Don't know.
Interesting.
Like you know, at that point, like for the first 2 years of my career, it was all about just get ring time. It don't matter what they call you, what they do with you. Don't worry about none of that. Just get experience. And that's what I was taught. So, you know, you could have called me Joe Blow. I would have put the boots on and showed up.
There you go. Hey, this all ties in, too, because the reason I brought up Polish Prince is that Rob was on Nash and Friends with Kevin Nash and Sean Oliver this yesterday as we record this. And so got to interact with some of the Click This members that sign up and then interact with Kev and answer some questions. Rob, it was pretty cool. You got to give some advice on how to, you know, kind of what would be good for pain and everything like that. And seemed like it was a pretty good time. I had fun just sitting there.
Yeah, no, I did too. I enjoy their show, and it's conversational like this, and I might have a couple of different views. I usually do, right?
Yeah.
Usually have a different perspective, but yeah, like a couple times, like they were talking about. Kevin was talking about unions. I didn't open my mouth too much there, but when it came to talking about the wrestlers and being an employee versus an independent contractor, like I said, I stand on the other side of the fence where there's an unpopular group versus everybody else, the masses, because I like being an independent contractor. And a lot of fans don't understand that. I said on his podcast, people will put words in my mouth. I'll be doing an interview and they'll say, it's not right how they treat you guys like employees, but then, they don't, give you insurance. And it's like, dude, I'm good. Don't be trying to fight my battles. I'm good. If you need insurance, you want that part of your deal, you just put that in your contract. If you want a bus, put that in there. I mean, I was so surprised last time I went to WWE. I guess it was that run, that 2014 run and the 13. But it was like so many of the guys had buses that didn't have them before. And I was like, wow, that's a deal. Somebody, like one guy, Big Show had one before. Maybe Cena had one. Now all of a sudden, all these dudes are, and it's like, guess what? As an independent contractor, you're making your own deal. And then the what I always ask, in case somebody didn't hear it and they're interested in this conversation, I always ask this and I always get the same answer. Would you rather make X amount of money and I'll cover your insurance, or would you rather have X amount of money and you go ahead and find your own insurance? And everybody always answers that the same way. So I think that they haven't really thought it through when they just jump on the side and say wrestlers are treated poorly. I'm gonna go with what he said. They all got CTE. Give them money.
Yeah, no, it's like if you think about the logistics of it all, when you're like an active wrestler and you're in the business, it's like, the independent contractor thing makes a lot of sense. And then the execution of like having a wrestling union would be tougher to do and not fair to everybody in the grand scheme of it all. Like,
well, that's it. What would the boundaries be? You know what I mean? Right. Are you just? I remember having this way back on RVD radio, like 2008 or something. I was talking to Booker T about it, and I was like, Book, because he was pro union, and I'm saying, okay, but are you saying all wrestling, like the mom and pops flea market wrestling that has 2 shows a year, do they have to have insurance? He's like, no, not them. Well, then who? If you just mean Vince, then say it. If you just say WWE, because there wasn't anything else. I mean, there was TNA, time, and then it's like, okay, WWE and TNA, is that it? Or should all wrestling that's on television have it? Because that's an argument. It's people are always confused, and rightfully so, on why wrestling isn't SAG or AFTRA. And I couldn't believe somebody that I knew really well recently thought that we were. They're like, you guys aren't. How are you guys not SAG? And I'm like, we never have been. They say it's because it's a live show that's on the road, and that's what keeps it from being in the category of just like a regular weekly soap opera, sitcom, TV show. And that's what I've always been told. But that I could see looking into but as far as just putting a union or any specifications, any specific mandatory, requirements, then who? What all wrestling companies? Where does the company meet the qualifications to need this? If it's just WWE, then say you think Vince should insure his wrestlers, and then that's a whole different argument.
Yeah. And I know too, it's like, hey, if wrestlers were SAG right now, nobody would be working because of the strike and all that stuff too. And so
exactly. That's
right
true.
now, you're an active you're making gainful employment at the moment. If you're in WWE or if you're anywhere else for that matter. But and then like we talked about Terry Funk last week and honored him, and like his specific reason to go into acting was so he could get insurance for a union, and like. So he just did that, did some Roadhouse, did, Paradise Alley and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's not that easy, but, Luke Hawk, Luke Hawk's the wrestler.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
from Wildcats in New Orleans. He actually introduced Katie and I together. He will forever have that credit. I met him on Wrong Side of Town, my starring role action movie that I did in 2009, and we were in a fight scene, and he was telling me about all these acting gigs he got, and we were talking specifically about that, about insurance, and at the time you had to make like $30,000 a year through SAG in order to qualify to have your insurance covered. Otherwise, there was insurance packages that you could pay for, if you were under a lower
tier of it.
Yeah, thank you. And he was like, dude, like if I can get it, I know you can get it, man. It's easy. That's not that much work. It's not that easy. Luke's a hell of an actor, and he was being humble because I'm a big wrestling star, but that doesn't always translate to you should get full-time work, in the business. And he's been crushing it,
Mm-hmm.
He has his Wolverine and heels, and I don't know, I think that he just does like so many cool parts, but see him all the time, and
he was just in Young Rock as Stone Cold too, I believe, wasn't
he? Yeah, he was, and he nailed it. He did Stone Cold better than Stone Cold does Stone Cold. Yeah, well, you couldn't have got a better guy to play him. That was awesome.
It should almost be like soap opera, like where if an actor leaves the show, but they just replace him with another actor.
Yeah,
had Luke Cox come in as new Stone Cold,
like they did with NWO,
right? Like the Razor and Diesel,
right, with Razor Ramon and
Diesel,
Nash,
yeah.
They did.
Gosh, who would pick up your mantle, Rob?
Oh, I don't know. There's a girl in NXT that I just saw today on Twitter. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, Kalani Jordan. I have this picture right here.
Oh,
look at that!
Wow, nailed it. Nailed it. And then that's amazing. And she looks awesome. And then right under that, I see her doing my step over kick when she catches the foot and does a step over kick, which is an RVD move. So I guess I have a pretty little protege there.
How about that, huh?
Well, we'll change it up. We'll change it up when she can play RVD. We'll do like they do in movies, like when we have a black head of S.H.I.E.L.D. now, even though it wasn't, we're doing that. We're keeping it.
That. You gotta suggest your airbrush guy.
Yeah.
Hey, and then
I wears a smaller outfit, less to brush.
There you go.
Less to paint.
I like it. Well, sweet, Rob. Yeah, we got some feedback, some fun feedback this week in certain roundabout ways. This was a funny one I put up. Evelyn, I'm not even going to try that one. RVD is really one of a kind for surviving a podcast while eating mixed nuts. Most dangerous spot since jumping on the top rope to Bam Bam in the audience. So
they got it, survived. Yeah, I felt like pointing that out because I normally don't munch. So I was like, well, here I am. And it looks like I'm like snacking on TV. Maybe I should explain this in case anybody's paying too close of attention. Because normally I don't. I eat a meal. A few hours later, I dry scoop a couple of protein shots. A little while later, I eat another meal. That's usually just what I do throughout the day.
Graze, like the healthy grazing. I like that.
Felt like explaining the nuts, but one thing of nuts will last me 6 months, but sometimes I do that.
Yeah, once in a while. It was funny too. Somebody wanted you or hoping that you explained yourself to the Young Bucks backstage. I saw on Twitter, and you were like, "Nah, it's like just a couple of dumb fuck marks." Like only think that's gonna be the case. It's like that kind of little rinky-dink stuff doesn't matter to
That's In case you don't know, that's everybody jumping on the comment that the hilarious, by the way, comment that I made about all petite wrestling a few years ago.
Yeah,
which is actually a typo. I can't remember what the typo was, but it was in the sentence. It wasn't in that word.
Was it like a bon appetit instead of
something like I meant to call them like guys and then call them tarts or something really, really weird. I didn't notice until I hit send. And I was like, God darn it. If only this was edit it. Yeah. Right. But yeah, anyway, dude, nobody gives a fuck. Everyone was like, oh, this didn't age well, like bringing that back. Like, right. Can we cancel RVD for this? yes, we finally found something that's cancelable. We can cancel RVD. No, nobody gives a fuck.
Nobody.
Off the P wrestling, it was hilarious.
Yes.
I don't regret.
And then they handled it well too. They just leaned into it basically. You know what I mean? So
nobody cares.
Nobody
cares.
cares.
It was funny.
It was funny. So somebody said, not gonna lie, Terry's passing got me misty-eyed, especially reading a lot of the tributes from his fellow wrestlers that he touched. Been binge watching a lot of his promos and matches lately. Sad to lose a true legend, though he lived a full life for sure. That he did. Rob, have you ever seen him, that promo he cut on Shotgun Saturday Night where he's like just calling Todd Pettingill's mother a whore, and like Stone Cold's on commentary and he calls out Stone? It's just chaos, but it's so fun. It's like
in the ring promo,
like, so it's like in this, like, I don't even know where it's located. I think it's somewhere. Maybe it was like in a bar in Texas or something. Like
somewhere.
That. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
It's gotta be somewhere.
It's gotta be somewhere. But yeah, it's just like mass chaos. He gets into the crowd. Austin comes through. They brawl it out. Terry just falls out of the ring. It's some golden stuff. It's like right in the thick of the Attitude Era. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, you know what I remember was when he was in ECW, and I was pretty new. It seems like, you know, first year or two anyway there, and still making a name for myself. I felt like I was still proving myself, but I remember. But also most of my career felt like that, by the way, that I was still trying to prove myself until all of a sudden, like, boom, I'm done. What? I remember him doing the moonsault off the ladder. I think it was a ladder match with Sandman, if I'm not mistaken. And I just remember at the time it was such a big deal. I don't remember if he was 50 or 55. And it was just like, whoa, my God, you know, a 50-year-old doing a moonsault. That's so crazy. Like, why would a 50-year-old need to do a moonsault? And that was, oh, my God. And now it's, you know, now that I'm 52, you know, it's just like there's not too many moves I don't want to do. Everyone wants to see a Van Terminator every night, but I've always been protective of that. In WWE, they used to want to see that every night, and I'd be like, nah, that's what makes it special is when I pull it out, you know. And if I wasn't going over, they'd want me to miss it, and I was always like, nah. But anyway, to the point though, like, you know, I would still do like pretty much everything that all my moves that I've done, and but now, I mean, we're aging differently now anyway. That's what people don't realize. You know, we gotta upgrade how. Just like we had to upgrade the showers because people are taller now than they used to be.
It's true.
Yeah, same.
Jeez. And like, no, there's a lot. Yeah, you're able to do the moonsault kind of stuff. And like, you look at somebody like Dustin Rhodes, he does like the Canadian Destroyer. It's just like a little bit of like, you know, it sounds funny to me now.
It sounds funny to me now that people add in 50 years old, like it sounds like it's separate from the rest of society. You know?
Right. You're a 50-year-old.
Yeah. 50-year-old RVD has a wrestling match.
You know? You go over here, Rob. While everybody else stands.
and then I guess it works in my advantage if I ever like lost a fight and be like, dude, you beat up a 52-year-old man. Are you proud of yourself? I sure don't feel the vulnerability yet, as much as people want to believe that I'm entitled to it.
Right. Another funny comment here we had. Starship Mythic says, Dominic, can I have Robert's phone number? This was in reference to me talking about having Terry Funk's phone number, and you're like, don't you ever give out my phone number.
Oh.
So, cool. And then somebody said this. I would be up for like being the observer of this, but we'll see here. Lapido Lavitio says, I think you guys should do a table for three type show where wrestlers smoke and use, call it wrestling buds. So, I mean, you can do that.
Has that not been done?
I don't think so. I probably wouldn't partake because I would definitely think I would get paranoid and freak out.
Yeah, probably not for you. It's not for everybody. It'd be for the ones that like to smoke, and they would only smoke the amount they like to smoke, you know.
Yeah.
I know people all the time that will smoke with me often, but each time they only hit it one time and they're done. You know.
That's what I would do. That's what I would do.
A lot of people that's it. And they know that. But you know, this reminds me of when I did RVD TV, Friends in High Places. We'd sit around. Yeah, kind of.
Talk about that with Nash and Friends. Yeah.
Yeah. But it wasn't always wrestlers. It was whoever could be labeled as a celebrity, prospectively from whatever perspective. I'd throw them on there and talk about stupid shit that nobody cared about but me.
That's great.
But I had the Warrior on there. Me and the Warrior and Chris Nowinski one time talking about the power of the mind, and you know, because your mind is like so strong, you know, and your thoughts dictate your vibration, that dictates your life. And that was a good couple of guys to have that conversation with, because Warrior could go out there with me, and Chris Nowinski, he's the master of the brain. He studies the brain. He holds it in his hands and breaks it open and looks inside of it and shit, you know. So that I did enjoy that more than maybe, you know, some of the times when I'd get a bunch of guys around that are a bunch of tough guys, and then I'd say, what are we really afraid of? No, man, you called me here for this.
they don't want to put their vulnerability in quote.
Yeah.
No. So you had Warrior and Chris Nowinski on at the same time then?
Yeah. To talk about the power of the mind.
How about that?
Manifestation, or however you take that. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Chris does a lot too now. You see, he goes and does the, you know, meetups at WWE. They'll have him there to make appearances and talk about.
He's awesome. He's my hero. Yeah. He's the one that made the correlation, you know, between wrestlers and CTE after it was well established that that's what was happening to football players, and it answered a lot of questions, and, you know, made us understand things from a whole different perspective. I always just thought getting knocked silly was just part of the job. You know, I never knew there could be long-term brain damage associated with it, you know? Yeah.
Right. No, who would, like, you didn't think about that stuff at all back then at all.
And by the way, in Headstrong and other places, you know, I've claimed that I've come up with a number of like 500 concussions that I've said I've had. That number was questioned recently by someone online, and I will say none of those were diagnosed by a doctor except for, I think, 2 of them. So for me, that was because after talking to Chris Nowinski, he was saying anytime that you're rocked, and I'm not 100% sure that this is fact, but he was saying anytime that you're rocked, that your perception's off, whether you just feel loopy or things are spinning for a second, or you're seeing floaters even maybe or slow motion, sometimes sound goes out. There's all these different things that could happen and that have with me different times that I've hit my head. And Chris said, anytime something like that happens, he said, just go ahead and assume that it's a concussion, a minor one. But so those were the standards that I've used. I've had them happen, you know, like every match for weeks and weeks. It seems like, wrestling like with Balls Mahoney, and so, you know, if somebody really wanted to press that, there's only been like maybe 2 times that a doctor diagnosed me with that, you know. So all the fans that somehow think that my brain is a marshmallow now, I don't know if they're watching this show, but I'm fairly coherent. So one of us is wrong.
And like on Nash Friends too, you're recalling back when like you were in WCW and you're naming dates and certain things like that coming in there. It's like,
no, I don't question it. It's just the fans are silly. Like I said,
like it's that aspect of it all. Yeah, we're just. Like,
I knew that but I also knew when I did the movie Headstrong, it was like, wow. I mean, I'm really gonna show I'm pulling my pants down in front of everybody here, you know. And I don't know if I want to be that vulnerable because I'm a superhero, you know, but. Eventually I decided to tell the story because it took over part of my life for a while, having this double vision, and I had to see the you know, the specialists and the neurologists and the vision rehab and all kinds of stuff, and so then it was like, you know, I'm going to tell that story even though people are going to and I knew, I was like, the last thing I want is people coming up to me saying, "Are you okay, Rob? Are you feeling better?" Because I've always hated that. I just always it's always bothered me. Feel better? No, I'm gonna die. You know, like I've always hated being seen in that vulnerable light. But I decided to do the movie. I thought we did a great job editing it, and I thought maybe, fuck it, it could help people, and it really did. The feedback right away from people telling me that just seeing me overcome obstacles and continue marching forward, being the whole effing show, help them get through whatever they were getting through. And then, of course, there's the concussion awareness, which, still people are so ignorant on that. They think that we all have CTE, and CTE is degenerative. It's like Alzheimer's. When you have it, it gets worse and worse. And it's like we don't all have it. Thank God. A lot of wrestlers think they have it. I've heard wrestlers say, well, we all have it to some degree. They don't even know. So what I found out was that it's a new study. I was asking questions when I first got there to the neurologist, and I went to, a really top expensive one on Headstrong. I showed a different doctor because I didn't have the camera at the clinic, but I got two different doctors to tell me, that my brain looked good. And I put that in the movie, but somehow people miss it. It goes, but anyway, they couldn't tell me anything because it's such a new study. Like how long is this double vision going to last? I don't know. But you think someday it will go away? Yeah. Like, could it be like days or could it be years? Yeah, could be. We don't know. Like that's how much info they had. So the whole concussion study and the long-term damage is very new.
And like I look at athletes like Sidney Crosby, the hockey player. He got rocked one time really bad, like almost 10 years ago, and like there was no timetable for his return to come back. And he came and finally he did come back. But there was a lot of questions like, is he going to come back? And like, will he be the same? He's still playing hockey right now, and like one of the top stars in the league. So, and then Adam Cole was another one. Like he got rocked at Forbidden Door 2 years ago or last year, and he was out, and they didn't know when he was coming back either. He came back. So,
well, yeah, now they take it seriously. So when you have a concussion, you got to pass all kinds of tests and stuff to prove that you're ready when you get back, because when you already are concussed and then you don't rest and instead strain your brain and or injure your brain again, then it seems like that's one of the worst things that you can do to prolong the injury and maybe even make it more sufficient. So people report it now. We never used to report it, and then they keep up with it. It used to be like just, I would just wait a few seconds till everything came back together. Okay, I'm ready. And most of those that I count as concussions for me, most of them were like 10 seconds, and then I was fine.
Yeah. It's a crazy thing. Like the brain is there's so many intricacies to it. It's like, wow. And just what you learn about it. You mentioned like opening up and showing your vulnerability and stuff like that in the documentary. Do you think doing that kind of helped you in the grand scheme of like your life and how you live in everyday life about vulnerability and certain things like that? Do you think that kind of was like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was? Or where do you kind of lay out on that?
I think that it probably was just as bad as I thought it was, because like half the internet idiots because of this movie think either that I'm not in wrestling because I have CTE, or they think that had something to do with me not working for WWE anymore, or whatever I'm saying. They just want to say, oh, it's gibberish. He's not even making any sense because he's high and he's got brain damage. And I think for the most part, it's about as bad as I predicted that it would be. I think I was right about that. But at the same time, I know that it helped a lot of other people. And for me, I feel like it's just consistent with being genuine. I mean, I'm always honest and I'm always open. And this was part of my story. So boom, there it is. And it did make me better in the fact that, hey, put this on my resume. I made a fucking movie. Me and one guy, Joe Clark, did everything from the music to cutting the scenes to filming it to everything, and even sold it to Reels, a TV channel. So, so now, that opens the door for other projects if we want to follow up, which of course there's many that we talk about. But did it make me better as far as being able to be more vulnerable? No, I don't think so. I don't think so, because I think one-on-one personally, I think I'm always that vulnerable because I'm open and I talk about stuff that I probably shouldn't, that probably should be personal to me or whatever. I've always kind of been like that. So now it's just more on a public platform, which not necessarily better, except for that it helps a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it's true too. Like, and you're the type of person that is like, honest and straightforward. So it's like you already kind of had that wall down in a certain way. So it was like already came with the territory for you, certainly. So yeah. So I did. Rob, were you a fan of Bob Barker? Like, did you watch Price is Right?
I did. I watched that growing up.
Me too. I was a huge fan. That's like, and he was 99 years old when he passed away. I have his autograph picture right there. I sent in the mail, and he sent me one. So I was like, holy shit.
99. That's awesome.
99. How crazy is that, man?
Well,
and
that's what I was just saying, man. We're living longer. We got to upgrade the whole how we look at ages, because some of that vernacular from a few decades don't work anymore when you're talking about old people. They'll still whoop your ass.
Right. Don't cross anybody.
99, that's great, man. How old is William Shatner? 90.
He's up there too. I think I want to say he's early 90s, but he's there. Like,
man, that's awesome.
He looks great too. Like, if you asked, like, I would have guessed he was like late 70s maybe or something, just by appearance. So,
yeah. Incredible. Increíble. That is awesome.
Yeah, very cool. I love it.
Get your dogs neutered. Right?
That's right. Keep your pet spayed and neutered, everybody. You know that? Yeah. That's always key to do.
That was important to him. That was the one message he wanted me to know every night, every day.
Every at the end of every show. It doesn't matter if you won the Showcase Showdown or you lost it. If you lost at Plinko, he's still going to tell you that. R.I.P. Bob Barker, man.
It was important.
Very important. All right. So, we're going to pick up. Well, before we do that, I did want to mention there's the Jungle Boy and Jack Perry had a little bit of a conflict behind the scenes, apparently, with CM Punk. And it got me to thinking about, like, how inundated everybody is with social media and how it gets kind of swerved up, and like all this stuff is made aware instantly to a lot of people. Like, it wasn't back in the day and stuff like that. I'm just curious, Rob, like, when it comes to conflicts backstage, you hear about stories in sport too, where people get into arguments and fights and stuff like that. Like, how much of this stuff back in the day wasn't necessarily like really made public in a lot of ways? Did that happen and you just kind of moved on from it and like everybody coexisted and kind of got along?
Well, no, I think it happened and it wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, I'm sure people are going to shit on this opinion, but that's what I said when I saw that every single site is picking this up. I said to Katie, I mean, I'm sure it's my old school fundamentals, but I said, I don't think this should be that big of a deal. And she said, right, they're like both fighters, right? And it's like, I mean, that's our world. And it was, I mean, I see like it weigh-ins, when they do the face-off and they take the picture, a lot of times they get too close and they pie face and they start going at it or whatever. And I get like you got to set some strict rules if you don't want that to happen like every single time. I get it, with that, but with wrestling, it's even a little bit different because the competitors don't have the whole injury, win or lose, be in the best condition possible to have every advantage possible situation. Wrestlers aren't in that the same way that a fighter is. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I mean, if they let out a little steam every once in a while, I mean, okay, usually what would happen is the promoter put those two guys in the ring as soon as possible. That happened every time I can think about it. That's what Paul did with me and Taz, like next week after we got our situation at you and Taz. it's always been that way. And I always find that people, they work it out. You know, they work it out by working together. And so, you know, I'm surprised that it's that big of news. But if you look at it like if it was football or something, then okay, sure, I guess, you know. But with wrestling, I don't know. It's not something that I guess you should just ignore if you're the boss and you've got millions and millions invested, and some of it's going to these two players, and you need to handle the business end of it to protect your investment. But besides that, man, it's not the same thing as the corporate office. It's a wrestling backstage, you know, by the dressing room. So,
and to what you were saying too, it's like wrestling is different than like an MMA kind of situation, even, or boxing, where it's like there's that other element of like you're telling a story. People are the competitive nature is in like the creative aspect of it too, where you're trying to vie a position and get yourself over. And then so are these other wrestlers, and they have their own ideas and their own philosophy of how that is going to get executed. And now, like, of course you're going to run into kind of that. And plus you have that athleticism and the button heads of all the, like the sports-like nature of it all too. So it's
right. All that testosterone. I mean, say what you will about pro wrestling. It is a fighting art, you know, and, what was I going to say about what you just said?
Creativity.
Yeah. So a lot of times you feel like you're doing somebody a favor if you're in the ring with them and say they beat you. You get that perspective, I'm just saying. Mm-hmm. And you can feel underappreciated, and you can feel like they really believe in their heart that somehow these finishes are happening a different way because they're so good. Not really the way that it's happening by us doing what we're doing for them. And sometimes, you know, there's like that's even behind there after a while, you know, when you start. So yeah, there's going to be some issues. And to answer your question, I think there always have been little scuffles and stuff. A lot of them have gotten out now because, you know, first the shoot interviews and then now with social media and everything. But, you know, a lot of the stories that no one heard about from way back in the day are happening or are talked about now, I mean.
Right. Like what you hear is like urban legend, you know, for whether it was like you mentioned the Andre the Giant story or, you know, certain things like you just hear all these crazy road stories that happened in the back of the day. But like how much of that didn't get reported? How much wasn't even like you only had.
You know what? You just talked me into doing an RVDology today. I'm going to do one. I'm going to tell you a story that no one knows about.
Well, how about that? All right. Well, cool. You know what, too? What I think what we're going to do, I was going to continue with Tommy Dreamer this week because I put a pin in it last week after I wanted to see the Dory Funk match. If you guys haven't seen that, go back. The full episode is available up on rvdpod.com. I had to put an overlay over it because of copyright issues, but it's still up there. And you can tune in and see Rob's reaction. And it's a fun-ass match, man. So take a look at that. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a pin in Tommy Dreamer. I'm going to put a pin in the stretcher match because I feel I should watch it before we talk about it. So we'll do that. Let's do a couple Ask RVDs, and then we'll go to RVDology.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because we got StarCast coming up, folks.
Yeah, and I got Cauliflower Alley Club. I got to leave for in like 1 hour.
1 hour. So let's get to cooking here. All right. So this was an interesting question. Thank you to Instagram and Wrestling Historian for helping kind of curate some of these. But here we go. Stone Cold's Mullet asks, when did you first start your comic book shop, RVD 5-Star Comics, and do you still own it? See, Rob, I didn't know you had a comic book shop.
Yeah, I did. I'm not exactly sure what year it was. I think it was 2003 or 4-ish, 5. This guy, Craig Nobuyuki, approached me with the idea. He wanted me to first be a silent investor, and then I was like, why not put my name on it, capitalize? Eventually, he got pushed out. I always felt bad for him. And it wasn't by me, but it was kind of by my team, my legal team, trying to put all this paperwork on them and stuff, and figure out numbers. And anyway, it was not a successful business venture as far as being any profitable, but had some good times. I used to have like a wrestler or sometimes a different celebrity there like about every month and do an in-store signing. And so many wrestlers were cool and helped me out, by appearing and doing that. And I have a huge list, or I'm sorry, I have a picture. What do you call it? A collage.
A collage.
All these pictures of all the wrestling, all the guests from my store that were there. And I mean, Benoit was there. I don't know why he's the first guy I think of it. But when WrestleMania was in LA, him and Kane and someone else did appearances there. And it was Trish. Tajiri was the first one. Of course, Booker T. And so many, like I kind of Hurricane. I kind of feel like maybe I should send you a picture of the collage because it'd be hard to name everybody. But anyway, I was the worst business owner. I never one time. We were in a mall for like a year or so, and then it had an escalating lease. We ended up leaving there, going to a standalone place for like maybe 2 years, and then closed it down. Like it never made any money. I was funding it the whole time. I never opened the cash register one time when I was there. Trusted everybody, and I had a team of amateurs. That some of them took advantage. Some were just inexperienced. I have many times in my life I had somebody like this time say, I learned a lot about myself from this experience. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. But anyway. RVD's 5-star comics. I'm surprised you didn't know about that. And
no,
I don't know.
Cool. Yeah. Man, now you were a big Ghost Rider fan, I know. Was there anyone when you opened the shop that you kind of got into too, or was that just like, hey, this is a business aspect of it? I do enjoy comics, but like, did you find yourself more invested in the comics at that point too, from a personal standpoint, not like a? No,
I think I had like a weekly pull. I don't think it really grew very much. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what I was reading. I was reading Spider, a few different titles of Spider-Man because they had Amazing Spider-Man and Peter Parker to the Spectacular Spider-Man, and the Hulk had something that I was also reading at that time. But yeah, Ghost Rider was always my dude. Always my dude. And I stopped collecting. I'm not sure exactly when I stopped collecting. Sometime before leaving California and selling the house and, the big split up.
Yeah.
I think it was a long time before that, actually, that I stopped collecting, I think. But anyway, at that point, though, I got rid of all my collections of statues and toys and everything and just I just set my old life on fire, and is what it felt like. And that's how much I didn't care about any of it. I was ready to move on so bad that it was. I really just wanted to just burn the house down with everything in it and just run. But
just get the hell out of there.
Yeah, it came down to that.
Yeah. All right. Somebody asks, Yayo asked, you were in the Black Mask too. What was it like working with Scott Adkins and filming those fight scenes? Your character's name was Claw. I looked it up on IMDb. What was your experience like with that, Rob?
Scott was awesome. He was, really talented, and also he was respectful. There was another guy there that was a British dude. What was that guy's name? Can't remember, but those two were kind of like seemed like buddies that hang out a lot together. Man, that guy probably listens to this. He's one of those 57 listeners we have that.
Oh, hey, nice.
I can't remember.
57.
Can't remember his name right now. Yeah. Or B157, BPC 157. What? That's a peptide. It was cool. I mean, I was so green in experience that my perspective was that of someone that's in a whole new world. We're in Thailand filming this movie. The screen is written by people that speak French, and then there's like a Chinese directing crew, and then a different kind of Chinese dialect fighting crew. And so there's a lot of communication issues. Mm-hmm. And the other actors like Tyler Main and Andrew Bernarski, guys that were in my group of monsters, whatever we were, they had the experience to feel comfortable and take over and just read the script and make it their part or whatever. For me, I was very confused the whole time. So I remember that. And I might have been talking about this. I don't know if this was on the show or not, but I was just telling somebody about this. I remember Andrew Bernarski and I were the only ones that smoked. And even though he almost got his head chopped off to score weed in Thailand, which that's another story, we would smoke in the trailer. Like, we all had to dress in this trailer, and it was so rude, but like, we didn't give a fuck. And looking back at it, you know, like, I wouldn't do that now. Like, looking back at it, I was just so unaware of how rude that was. And some of the guys, even Scott would step outside. You know, he would step outside because we're smoking the trailer up and we're all supposed to hang out in there. It's air conditioned and it's hot out. And some of the other guys would too. And they'd be like, man, you guys smoke that inside? You know, why can't you go outside? And we would just be so selfish. We would just be like, no, there's nowhere to sit outside. You know,
what are we going to do?
Yeah. And now looking back at it, like, that was so rude. But I used to just, you know, be stuck on it's not even toxic. You know, cigarettes kill 1 out of 2 people. And this is, you know, but now I realize, you know, people might not want to smell it, you know, or breathe it in. And we did that also on the bus, the double-decker bus in Ireland when we wrestled for AWR, me and Sabu. And there was a couple more of us that were the hoods that would smoke. Kid Cash, depending on who was on the tour, that they would like to smoke. And we would be upstairs on this double-decker bus, and we would just smoke it up, and everybody would bitch about it. And we were just like so selfish the way I look at it, you know, because they'd be like, people go downstairs to the lower deck, and they'd say that it was still bothering them. And they'd be like, can't you smoke before you got on the bus? And I'd be like, we did.
We're continuing.
We got enough weed for the whole 4-hour trip. You know? This is awesome. Don't worry about it. It's not killing you. Yeah. But looking back, sorry, guys. I think that was rude and selfish. And Andy Bernarski, shame on you.
Yeah. How dare he?
Higgins was awesome, though, and he's had a really good career. And talented dude.
And Tyler Main, former wrestler, tooth, and he was Sabretooth in the X-Men. So.
Yeah, I just saw him. I think it was in Detroit, I think, at a Comic Con of some sorts recently, but we've always remained good friends and kept in touch. Good dude, Tyler.
How about that? Well, cool, Rob. You know what? We got to get out of here pretty early, so let's wrap it up with some RVD.
Okay.
Yeah? Let's
do it. So, because it's a shorter show, I had said before, let's pass on the RVDology so we can get out of here. But you inspired me today to talk, so this is completely off the cuff. But a lot of it it's not like I prepare anyway, so whatever. But so we're talking about altercations and how often do they happen that nobody knows about, that's not reported. I have been collecting a lot of stories for my autobiography. And I got like 40 stories or so, and I know nobody knows about any of them. And I'm still going, by the way, but that's what I've collected so far. And then there's going to be obvious stories that people want to hear about, specific times they remember and stuff. So I'm going to fill that in, and then I'm going to have this thing typed up. And you know, by next year, I'm going to be having this thing done. That's my goal. This story that I'm going to tell you hasn't been talked about publicly. It's too fucking current. This guy that I'm going to talk about, he's out there. Scott Norton. I'm going to tell you a story about Scott Norton. This is going to surprise you because nobody knows about this shit. But the thing with RVDology is not only applying my values, but I like to share when I learn these values and when they're asserted on a deeper level. And so I want to talk about passivism. Obviously, RVD is a passive guy. Am I too passive? Well, I mean, that's for whoever's judging me to say. But obviously, whatever I'm doing works for me. I eat a lot of shit sometimes. I do believe the nice guy finishes last. Is that part of my duty or my obligation because of my nature? Well, I feel like, yeah, partially because I've chosen to be passive. Thereby, it's part of my duty then to take some stuff, deflect what I can, absorb what I can. That's part of the deal. See, the opposite of being passive is being aggressive. And it doesn't take much aggressiveness to even move forward a little inch. There's standing your ground, and then there's aggressively moving forward. And then there's receding, which would be passive. A lot of us throughout life do any of those things at different times. So we have experience with that. Some people are aggressive all the time. That would not be correct to call me that. In fact, probably too passive. Once in a great while, I'll stand up. Like if I feel like at the airport, somebody like, dude, you closed the door to the gate 12 minutes early? What the fuck? You just gave the last announcement. Because I fly a lot and I know certain things about that. Katie hates it because she knows I'm usually so passive and so calm that if I just ask somebody something like that, she acts like I was screaming and biting their head off. Because to her, that's how that seemed, knowing me. When we're passive, sometimes we reflect back on it and we're like, did I do the right thing? Was I too passive? Like, hey, it might involve swallowing your pride. It might involve looking bad, losing some face, you know? Mm-hmm. But in the end, when you got to consider what if, and you think, what if it would have went the other way? What if I would have acted differently? What could have happened then? What kind of damage could have been done? What good or bad would have come out of that, out of the results? So this is one of those times. And I got to talk fast so that I can go, but I'm just sharing this thing because pretty important, memorable time for me in my travels. WrestleMania is in New Orleans. I'm going to DDP's birthday bash at this club somewhere. And I have been drinking that night. As I remember it, you know, I go into the club and Dan Masters was with me and he was drinking and we split up right when we got into the club. I had forgot that Dan was even with me later on, but I'm by myself and I'm having a good time. I saw DDP, met his beautiful daughter for the first time. Boom, 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 bunch of stuff. And here's Scott Norton. He bounces at the bar. Well, I never met Scott before. So I'm I'm talking to Scott, shook his hand. Nice to meet you. Yeah, dude, you were in New Japan when I was in All Japan. That's cool, man. Always respected you, whatever. Boom, boom, boom. He's being cool. Like, yeah, man, I remember. Yeah, I know you're friends with so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Crazy we haven't met in all these years. All of a sudden, his wife, for some reason, starts being the biggest to me. I have no idea why. And I'm using that word correctly here because she goes, she interrupts what me and Scott are talking about to say, how's your wife? Did she die yet?
Whoa.
I'm like, excuse me? And she goes, did your wife die yet? And I'm like, no. And she's like, oh, I thought, okay, and I have no idea why, you know. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like so confused. And then, man, I'm talking to him, and while my hand is I'm using my hands while I'm talking, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm like, dude, I don't know where it came, whatever, but my hand bumped her shoulder, and she took that as an excuse to defend herself, as if she was assaulted. So she started going like this and like pushing me and hitting me. I grabbed this bitch's wrist, and I just turn it to the outside, a la Krav Maga, which twists her and brings her down to a submissive fold, shall we say. And then all of a sudden, Scott starts screaming at her, whatever her name is, I don't know, Michelle. And he grabbed her and said, come with me. And they left. I don't know what her name is. I don't think it's Michelle. You know, like I said, you heard what I called her.
Yeah.
Have no idea what happened. Went along with my night. Next day at WrestleCon, I'm at my table signing with fans, and Norton from far away goes, Rob, you and me ain't finished yet. And I said, anytime, Scott, I'm right here. He comes up to me and he goes, let's take a walk. We got to talk. Let's go. Went over there and he says, that's fucked up what happened last night. I said, I agree. That's fucked up what your wife did. And he said, my wife? She said, you were being an asshole. I said, when? When the fuck was I being? When did I even see her? The fuck are you talking about? And he said, she said that you were being an asshole. And she said your friend was being an asshole. Now, I had forgotten that I was with Dan Masters. And I was like, who? I don't even know who the fuck you're talking about. Anyway, trying to think of how this conversation ended. There wasn't much more to it than that. He was like, we're not done with this. I said, hey, I'm right here. Whatever, dude. And I shook his hand. Stuck my hand out, shook his hand. Whatever.
Yeah.
Let him know I got no problem. He walked away. The next year, when WrestleCon and WrestleMania were in Dallas, right? Yes, because this was part of a crazy weekend. So I forgot this just happened to be on that weekend too. He comes up to me again at WrestleCon and says, hey, we got, I'm paraphrasing, we got some unfinished business to do. I said, well, fucking let's do it. I went over and and it's like face to face and we're talking and he's being aggressive. If I was aggressive as him, if I had matched his aggression, no question about it, it would have been physical. I could have considered myself under attack just by how close that motherfucker was to my face. And I could tell he's used to being a bully. He's used to people being afraid of him. And I shouldn't say obviously, but let's just say I'm not afraid of him. It didn't seem like fighting was the right thing to do. It seemed like he was being a good husband, sticking up for his wife and believing her. So I thought about that, but at the same time, dude, what do you want to do about this? And I don't know what the fuck is going on. The second year in Dallas, we're both out by ourselves. I don't know if anybody saw us, but we're talking and it got pretty aggressive. He's saying this about, she said that your wife was being a dick earlier. I mean, she's saying, sorry, my wife is saying that your friend was being a dick earlier. And I said, I don't know who the fuck you're talking about. What friend, dude? And he said, she said you were there with a friend. I said, who? And he took his sunglasses and he put them up on top of his head. Mm-hmm. What's that mean? Are you trying to intimidate me, or you just want me to know, like, now you're serious? What's that mean, Scott? Put his glasses on top of his head. I kept mine right where they fucking were and looked at him. And he says, I said, I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And I have no idea why your wife started acting the way that she did. And he says, look, all of a sudden when he saw that I'm not backing down and I don't give a fuck that you just took your glasses off.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in my face like this. He starts talking crazy. He says, look, he goes, ask Bubba about me. Ask Bubba Dudley about me. I said, why the fuck would I ask Bubba Dudley about you? He goes, no, you're right. You don't have to ask Bubba about me, but you should ask him about me. I go, Scott, why the fuck should I ask Bubba about you? You're right here. You're sounding fucking crazy to me. That's exactly what I told him.
Uh-huh.
How did this one end? I think he said to ask someone else about him too. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, what in the fuck are you talking about? I don't know how it ended exactly. We walked off. I shook his hand for the last time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shake his hand a third time.
Right.
I shook his hand twice when that motherfucker came up. And Scott, if you're watching this, next time I see you, you can extend your hand, or I don't give a fuck. But I respected him enough to shake his hand twice because, like I said, he's being a good husband, sticking up for his wife. I still have no idea what the fuck happened, but after both times afterwards, you know, my feelings were in such a way I had to question, was I too passive there? I mean, should I just fucking clock this motherfucker? Thinking that because people are afraid of him, because back in the fucking 80s, people didn't know how to fight, so big guys could trample everybody. That was before MMA. And besides, that has nothing to do with me. And what is he, in his 70s? Anyway, all these factors together still made me think, if I wasn't passive, if I had just even matched his aggression, if I would have taken my shades off when he took his off, dude, we probably would have went at it. And although, honestly, of course, I don't know what would have happened, in my mind, some serious damage would have happened, because that's not someone that just needs a smack in the face. That's not just a music guy that needs a smack to get woken up and straightened up. That's a guy that thinks that everybody else should bow down to him because he takes shits that are 150 pounds. Well, that's half of him. What's that say? So I did the right thing by being passive. And I haven't even talked about this. And this was just a couple of years ago. It's current. People don't know. I told Bubba, I went right up to Bubba and I repeated the entire conversation. And it was in front of people, and it was at WrestleMania. And I did it to be funny. So I remembered the whole conversation because it just happened. I went up to him and I'm like, dude, she said you were being a dick. No, when? I didn't even see her before. She said your friend was being a dick. Who? What friend? I don't know who you're talking about. Dude, ask Bubba about me. Dude, ask Bubba. Why would I do that? No, you're right. You don't have to ask Bubba, but you should ask Bubba. Why would I ask Bubba? You're right here. I was doing that to Bubba, and I was like being really physical. And I just thought it was funny to go up to him. I hadn't seen him in like 2 years. I had to go up to him and just start doing that. And he started like looking around and shit, you know, because it was like, I think it was at the Hall of Fame, I think. And everyone was getting ready to go. And he said, Rob, I thought you were about to hit me. He said, I don't know what happened. I thought we were going to fight. And I was like, oh, I'm just being funny. This isn't funny. And he was just like, oh my God, Rob, like, what the fuck? What are you doing? But anyway, looking back at it, you know, I'm glad that I was passive. And if he came up and wanted to shake my hand, I'd shake his hand, you know. If he wanted to fight, I would definitely fight. If he feels like he doesn't like me calling his wife, she was a total and we can handle that however. But being the passive guy that I am, I wanted to share this story with you because I think everybody can relate to it, where sometimes they're like, am I eating too much shit? Like, am I letting them get with too much away? Should I be standing up for myself more? Am I, you know, and the thing is, just imagine the consequences on if you would have went the other way, and imagine the most extreme consequences, and think about it. Like if that would have been less than positive, not productive, then use that to help you to feel good about your decision. Because when I say I had damage on my mind, when I think about taking down someone that thinks they're a giant and thinks they're invincible, I feel like it takes a lot of injuring in order to convince that person, so they don't think you just got lucky. They need to be disassembled. So anyway, let's not talk about that because we are passive. And I know that a lot of people do like Scott that know him, and I don't know him. And at this point, I certainly don't want to know his wife. But having said that, I chose to be passive, and the outcome was everyone's still here and healthy.
That's great. Rob, and you mentioned it like keeping your composure like that, and also factoring like what his mindset is going through is like, hey, he's just sticking up for his wife, he's being a good husband and stuff like that, and like you're just keeping your sunglasses on. It's like it reminds me of the show I watched, Justified. It's called with it's an Elmore Leonard book, guy from Detroit actually.
I love Elmore Leonard, dude. He's the best,
dude. Oh my god. Okay, we're gonna be talking about him again because he's my favorite author of all time. Yeah. So he wrote this character, Raylan Givens, who's like a U.S. Marshal. And, there's a television show about it and stuff like that. But he gets into a lot of conflicts, like in a lot of these, one-on-one things. And how does he handle it? He keeps his cool. And, there's this one situation at a bar where, this guy's being a total dick. He comes over with 2 pitchers of bar and, just gives him, lays it out for him. Like, hey, have a good night, basically thing. Or he gives him an ultimatum for it, or shit's going to go down otherwise. Something like that.
Right, yeah. Billy Jack. Billy Jack. Keep it cool.
Yeah, exactly. So it's to have that kind of it's super cool. Dealing with guys like that, obviously I haven't gotten into a lot of conflicts to that situation, but there gets to that point where you're like, what point is the threshold where I got to stick up for myself, where I got to say something in regards to this guy's or person's going a little bit too far.
Yeah, and everyone's threshold is different too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so, but to see somebody like that who's used to intimidating and scaring somebody and, having them back away, be like, okay, man, hey, whoa. It definitely, you have to keep the perspective of that all, and you handled it very well.
Well, he went backing away. I don't remember how he ended. It was something like both times I shook his hand. It was like, whatever, Scott. All right. Obviously, there's a fucking misunderstanding here. It was that kind of thing. But yeah, dude, how about last week we talked about karma? Did that happen to come across and affect your week at all?
Well, yeah, just factoring in with the ongoing situation I told you about too. It's I really kept that in a lot of perspective about and just certain life situations where it's just you think about oh man, I wish something like this would happen, or why is this person benefiting from it, or anything like that. And it's just to keep that all in the back of your mind as the week goes on and stuff like that. It definitely helped me think about that and just know it's the universe works itself out, and that's how it is, and it's there's only a certain amount that I myself can control, and how I handle that moving forward goes against either my values or what I feel about if I were to go outside of that and try to be vindictive or try to be mean, or it creates that negativity out there. So it's very helpful. That's a big one for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, and that was about trusting karma instead of feeling like you got to get everybody back because they hurt you.
Right.
Karma will take care of both of you. Put good energy out there and have a good life.
Absolutely. Damn, Rob, we are going to talk about Elmore Leonard. That's awesome. All right. Hey, guys. So if you're listening to this on Friday on the Premier Streaming Network, you can still catch us on the Premier Streaming Network again Saturday doing a live show at StarCast. So It's going to be a live Q&A. We're going to keep it nice and tight.
We're in Chicago.
In Chicago, baby. And hey, Rob will have stickers. I'm going to bring him stickers. Meet Rob. He's going to be there available for signings and everything like that. and I'll be mingling around. So
Katie will not be, FYI. She's with me a lot, but she is busy doing a family thing. So.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask if she was gonna be there too. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not this time.
Shucks. Well, but yeah, guys, you can see us there. And there will be a lot of different other stuff going on. My brother Mark is hosting a show with Jake Roberts, and it'll be fun. A fun weekend. So looking forward to it. Anything else I wanted to? Rob, is there anything? You got your Battle Creek show coming up, but that's down later on in the month.
Yeah, someone said it was 5 weeks away yesterday. So going by that report, it's a minute away. Yeah, but this weekend we're in Chicago, and we'll talk next week.
Talk next week.
Yeah,
Guys,
thanks, Tom.
Thank you, guys.
Tonight, Cauliflower Alley Club. I'm going to go check it out here in Vegas. Look it up if you're interested and want to know what it's about.
It's a cool organization. We talked about it a little bit last episode, too. So check that out, guys. But okay, guys. Hey,
thanks, dude.
You're welcome. We'll see you guys next week here on One of a Kind. RVD.
Sweet.
I was waiting for some kind of sign, some kind of indication. I was waiting.